All right, so today, day one of donor disassembly. I'll show you what I did. So I've been going by the book as much as I can, trying not to jump ahead. Pretty much the first thing they have you take out is the radiator. So if you see here, I have taken out the radiator, the fan. This has an electric fan on it. So here's the radiator there and the electric fan. When they're referring to it in the manual, they talk about it like it's the 85 to 95 or 87 and 95. And like a mechanical fan. And now I know my kit came with a electric fan. So I'd imagine, and they say to keep the fan shroud, and if you can't keep the fan shroud, you can reorder it in the manual. But so I kept it on there. Took off the overflow tank because they say you're gonna need that. Took out the radiator, and then made sure to drain everything. Now, the next step after that is the hydro booster, which is this piece here. This is upside down right now because it's draining. I want you to disconnect the 3 lines, which is all power steering here, and then they want you to disconnect the brake lines from the block. I just took one off of the one side and one off the other, so I know which one is what. And then they want you to disconnect. Now, it's kind of confusing because they make it sound like you have to take the nut off. They give you this special tool, which is sitting over there on my table there. They give you this special tool to take this piece off. And it makes it sound like it can't come out of the firewall without that. But clearly, I've taken that out without having to disconnect that. So, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of odd, but... and then that also holds in the pedal box assembly for the pedals. Which I'm going to take out tomorrow. And then, so what I've done is I've taken off also the air filter housing, disconnected all the connectors. And then also, like, one of the first things I did was take off the brace, the strut tower brace, because I just made it really easy to gain access to things. And then I've also taken off, this is the power steering cooler, which they say if it comes equipped, you should keep that. So I'm going to keep that, clean it up a little bit. Oh, and then there's this switch, which I think is the brake light switch, which I think you're going to reuse for the Cobra, for the Roadster, excuse me. Yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. Now, confusingly, they say to take the seats off and everything like that. I'm not going to do that because I'm not removing the seats. I'd like somebody to come and snag this car when I'm completely done with it, but I don't know if that's going to happen. So I figured this would be a good update on day one of the donor disassembly, and then I'll do an update. My plan is to get the engine and transmission out while it's in my shop, and then I'm going to have to put it back against the outside back wall and take off the suspension pieces that I need. Because then it won't be mobile, and I'm not going to make a stand for it because I don't really feel like it. So, yeah, the goal is to get the engine transmission out. Now, they say to cut the heater hose. I didn't need to cut the heater hose. I just took the clamps off and disconnected them. And then they say to cut the fuel lines, which I'm also not going to do. Because I don't think it's good. I don't want to cut fuel lines. So I have the disconnects to disconnect the fuel lines, so I'm just going to do that. Yeah, I'm not cutting them. So now, also my plan is to not take I'm going to keep some of the suspension components. I think I'm going to buy my own lower arms instead of carrying them over from the car, because if you want to clean them up and get them powder coated, you know, that takes time and money, where you can buy like each control arm brand new, like Mevotech ones, powder coated, new bushings, ball joints, for like 70, 80 bucks a piece. So to me, that just makes sense to save the time and do that. Same thing with the lower control arms in the rear. Or I mean, not the whole control arms, and the upper and lower control arms in the rear of the car. You can buy a whole new set from someone for like 130 bucks. So yeah, you can't get powder coating for that much. So that's what I'm gonna do. But yeah, this is where we stand. And like I said, next plan is to remove engine and transmission, drive shaft and stuff like that, and get that done so I can do the suspension. So that's it. That's where we stand today. All right, so this is day 2 of donor disassembly. It's really day 1.5 because it's been a half a day disassembling the previous day. But today, let's go over all the things that I got a lot out. So first things first, I removed. Did I remove? Yeah. Okay. So, remove the power steering reservoir. So drain that, remove that out of the, and then with this line, I'm gonna keep that for the kit car. I'll do front to back here. Disconnected a couple more pieces to the engine. I believe at this point I have it ready to take out, except for the stuff that's connected to the transmission. But other than that, engine wise, should be ready to go. Fuel lines, I'm going to leave the fuel lines till later. So I got the pedal box out, which was tricky. You can release the tension on the clutch pretty easily. You just pull it forward, and then you can pull it to release the tension, then you pull the cable out of it. Couple wiring harnesses on there. Got the accelerator cable out. Let's see what else here. Took the belt off. Got the AC pretty much removed of refrigerant, but I had that done before I started all this. So I started disconnecting the lines to it, so I'm gonna take the AC, I'm gonna take that off because it doesn't need to be with the engine. So to make it a little bit lighter, I'm gonna pop that off. Other than that, that's pretty much what I got going here. Yep. Now, interior, where a lot has been done, you'll see the whole entire dash has been reassigned to the center console. So steering column came out. Let's see here. Let's think about this here. They want you to take out all the wiring harnesses. I have a Ron Francis wiring harness that I ordered, but I don't want to miss anything. So I'm going to take out all the wiring harnesses, and they want you to take out all of these black boxes and keep them. And then the dimmer switch if you want to have the ability to dim the gauges. I also took the gauges out. I've taken the gauges out. Here you can see those are the gauges. The ECM and the plastic piece, which is pretty difficult. Oh, you need the turn signal indicator, and then this is the key with the RFID or whatever RF signal that it transmits to that. Now, if I were to do this again, what I would do is, first thing I would do, there's these panels here, these steel panels, and when the dash is in, they're under here. Take those out. There's a little brace there. You take all that out. Then I would just start to remove the whole entire dashboard, because to get down in there to that stuff where the ECM is really, it's much easier when the dashboard's out. I kind of destructively removed some of this stuff because I don't intend on keeping it or trying to get rid of it. I know some people would not be happy with that, but I don't care because it saved me some time. Yeah, but yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to remove all that stuff, steering wheel and all that. But that's, yeah. So my next step, I believe, is that I need to finish removing the AC components, raise the car up. Well, finish removing the wiring harnesses, raise the car up, disassemble the exhaust, remove that, and then remove the engine and transmission. That's gonna be the next step. And then it'll be suspension after that. Okay. A lot of stuff done today. Pretty much got every single wiring harness, excuse me. Pretty much got every single wiring harness out. If you want to see the wiring harnesses, this is pretty much all of them. That's all of them there. So that includes, there's a front wiring harness for headlights and mostly everything. I'm trying to think, let's see. Pretty much everything from the front of the engine forward is the front wiring harness. Then you move back and it kind of splits off, and this side of the car, from the fuse block, which is in front of the shock tower, through the it goes over to the fuel injectors, but then it also comes back and comes to pretty much be the chassis harness. And so that comes up to the windshield motor, and then through the firewall, and then down the rocker arm. There's a dash harness that I took out yesterday. That was the first harness I got out, which you pretty much have to take the whole entire dash out, which you can see here. So that splits off from the chassis harness that runs along the rocker arm, or rocker rail, then goes in front of the seats, which goes also to the center console area to the other side, and goes then up to the door on that side, door on this side. Then it comes back and it goes under the rear seat, and also up to, because this is a convertible, up to the convertible motor. And then it goes back under the package tray area, or what would be the package tray area in a coupe, and goes into the trunk, which there is a remote anti-theft box here, and then it goes to the taillight here, the middle of the trunk lid, other taillight, and then finally the fuel tank, fuel pump area over on the passenger side of the trunk. That's the chassis harness. So that took the longest to get out, obviously, because there's just so much. I mean, you pretty much have to, and they tell you in the Factory 5 instruction manual to take the seats out, take the carpet out. So if you do that, yeah, it's gonna make it a lot easier to take that harness out. I didn't take the seats fully out, I just took the nuts off the front of the seats, and then I cut the carpet in sections. So I have the floorboard driver's side cut across, so it's a piece, and then passenger side, and then I cut it, you know, so I can take all of the wiring harness out. They tell you to take the, oh yeah, then there's also another harness. There's a harness that goes to the engine computer on the passenger side through the firewall, and then which is also a bunch of things that are in the fender over there. So they tell you to take the driver's side wheel well out. You should also take the passenger side wheel well out if you want to make it real easy. They only tell you to take the driver's side, but I would take both. What else? Take the AC compressor out. Let's see. Yeah, so the wiring harness was you know, the toughest parts. Because you're also trying not to break the connectors So that's, you know, you've got to like work them out, and some of them are in there, you know, tighter than others. So let's see. My plan now, next step is speedometer clutch cable, which I've got everything disconnected clutch cable wise except for where it connects to the transmission. So I'm gonna do that. I have to raise up the front of the car, so I was hesitant to do all that today because I still need it to be kind of movable. So I'm gonna wait till the first thing I do tomorrow is raise up the front of the car when it's in position, and then do all the disassembly. So I might even take off the exhaust and all the stuff that needs to come out with the engine coming off, drive shaft, all that stuff tomorrow, because I know that's just going to be time consuming to take all that stuff off. Suspension is going to be my last thing, because I needed the car to be movable until then. So yeah, a lot of wiring, which I have the Ron Francis wiring harness. But I feel that you're gonna need other pieces from that. And there's like little boxes and stuff that there was like a box in the fender over there. So, yeah. Other than that, I mean, it's not difficult to do. Basic tools will do it. It's just time consuming. All the suspension. I got the whole back here filled up with interior pieces, so it's just time consuming. I'll show you. Oops, no, the door's locked now. But yeah, so it's possible if you're gonna do this one time. It's not really that bad. What I would do if I was you, if you see this video and you haven't gotten your kit yet, and what I would do is I would just do this before you get your kit, because you'll have the time to do it then. That way when the kit shows up, you have everything ready. And the only thing is you're not gonna have the manual, because the manual comes with the kit. But if you essentially just take everything off the car that relates to the engine, all the wiring harnesses, the brakes, the suspension pieces, you don't need any interior. You could even start selling the pieces off if you had the time. So that's why if I was gonna do this again where I did the donor, I'd probably start messing with the donor first before the kit shows up. That way you don't have a perfectly good kit just sitting waiting for you to get ready for it. So the other thing is, which will come in subsequent videos to this one, is there's preparation to the kit. So you could have the parts ready to start to do the preparation when the kit shows up and it gives you the instructions on how to prepare all the parts. That's going to be the other thing that is going to be, you know, time consuming before I even start on the kit, is they have it in there that you do the preparation of the donor parts first. So yeah, so that's it for today. So far it's been 2.5 days. I did a half day of work to start off with the donor disassembly. I did a full day yesterday and another full day today. And full day I'm calling it 8 to 10 hours. So you're looking at right now 2.5 days so far. Yeah, so we'll see how much longer it takes. I'm gonna estimate. No, I'm not gonna estimate. I'm just gonna see how long it takes. Whew. So this is day 3 of the donor car disassembly, and we're getting there. Today there was some rough spots to the day here. So pretty much started out. Let me try to go through it here. Lifted the car up, put the car actually on the ramps and the jack stands to get it up off the ground, because I was going to be working under the car. And my goal today was to make it so that the engine was pretty much ready to take out. the following day. So really the only thing connecting the engine to the car, other than motor mounts wise, is the fuel lines. And like I said, I'm leaving those till last. So what did I take out today? Well, let me show you. We got the exhaust, starter, what else? I took another wiring, so there's a transmission wiring harness that runs from the transit. It's got the O2 sensors on it. It's got the speedometer wire, because in this car it's a wire. In the manual, it's funny because they reference this speedometer cable. I believe that manual, this is just something that I've found out, is solely written mainly for the 5.0 Mustang. And then they've added in the 4.6. So a lot of it references the 5.0, and it doesn't have anything to do with the 4.6, but they talk about it like it does. So like for the speedometer cable, there's no speedometer cable for the 4.6, it's electronic. So that's part of that wiring harness. And that wiring harness comes up the back of the engine here, and then just kind of connects to the front, connects to the engine harness and stuff like that. I think that's where it goes, but anyway, it comes at the back of the engine. So yeah, took the exhaust. Another thing is, I'm very amazed, just this donor car, how original every part is. So it had the original Ford mufflers on it. It had an original Motorcraft starter on it. It has original Ford O2 sensors in the H-pipe, or that were in the H-pipe. I took them out now. But I mean, this thing was untouched, and I don't know, probably never had a lot of work done to it. Never had a lot of aftermarket stuff done to it, so it's been nice. What has been I don't think I've ever done a starter motor on a 4.6 Mustang, and did not realize, and this is a good, yours might have it if somebody before didn't get lazy and put, there's 3 bolts, and there's one that's just like hard to get. And here's another tip: when you're trying to get it, I don't know if you can see, this might be the right spot, but there's a little like opening in the K-member, and I think that opening in the K-member is actually to put your hand through to, and then the extension to get that bolt. But it's a tricky bolt. It took me forever to get it, and then the reason I was trying to get it was because there's one nut on the H-pipe on the passenger side exhaust manifold that, like, there's a little divot in the K-member, and it's pointed like at the divot. So you have to take the starter motor off and take that O2 sensor out that's there, because the O2 sensor is blocking it. And then it just, because it was so seized, I almost stripped it, but I took my time, and I actually got it with a crow's foot. I got these crazy crow's feet, and I put it on there, and I doused it with penetrant and took a break, and then came back, and it broke. And then I also got the drive shaft out, which has to be shortened when you because the wheelbase of the Cobra is so much shorter, you have to shorten that drive shaft. So I'll probably take it to a drive line shop and have them do that. I also took the clutch cable out, which was pretty easy once I got the car raised up, and I took the boot and everything off the shifter, and then I left. They want you to take the parking brake out, but I'm gonna leave it in there because it actually came in handy for doing the drive shaft to hold the wheels and not have to push against the transmission. Take note also, a little quick tip, when you're doing the drive shaft bolts, rotate the bolts that you're about to break torque or loosen to the 6 o'clock position. because the drive shaft will have an angle to it, and it's much easier to get a socket on it. Yeah, so that's it for today. Hopefully the next update I do on this video is the engine and transmission has been removed. I don't see why I wouldn't be able to get it out. It's pretty much ready to come out. What I want to drain the fluids in it. I want to you have to drain the fluids in it, and then you have to take down the cross member. There's a transmission brace under there that I might also take out just to make it easier. Because I'm going to take it out engine. They recommend you do it engine and transmission together. So, yeah, that's it for today. So 3.5 days so far on donor car disassembly. Yeah, hopefully, I'm hoping my wish is 2 more. 1 day for engine removal, and then another day for suspension and stuff. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, see you tomorrow. All right, got a big step done today. We got the engine transmission out, which was took a few days to prepare to this point. And then this morning I took as much of the front AC area stuff out, like the condenser and some of there's like those little like pod things. I also took off from the front of the engine the coil packs here, because it allowed me to access, there's a bolt hole here, and then this bolt hole here, which kind of gets covered up by the coil there, so I could bolt the engine leveler to it. And then I used this bolt hole here. Unfortunately, I couldn't get this one to stretch over here, so it kind of got picked up a little wonky. Then what I did was I took the nuts, these big 18mm nuts, off the mount, which it sits on the mount with those, you know, to keep it from pulling up. And then I broke the torque, but left the 2 bolts that are in the transmission. These 13mm ones, they're in the transmission cross member. And then I lifted. I took. It was kind of a pain to get the big. I think these are like 21 or 22mm motor mount nuts. And then I just lifted up. And the way they tell you to do it in the book is they tell you to do the whole lift it up like this and then level it, and they don't tell you to take the hood off, but you should take the hood off. So if you're doing this, take your hood off. I don't think so. 01 Trans Am I used as a donor car. That engine has to come out the bottom. This one, they say you can take it out the top with the transmission still on it. If I were to do it again, I would maybe drop it out the bottom. Either that, or I would disconnect the engine from the transmission. I've had mixed success in my experience with taking out engines with transmissions. I don't know, it always seems kind of awkward. But I think without the hood on, maybe it would have worked a little better. I was surprised that I didn't really realize how high my engine hoist went, but you know, I don't know. It came out. Crisis was averted and all that. Now, pretty much, there it is out there. And now I've got to, that's where it's gonna sit while I take the front and rear suspension off and the fuel tank out. And then I'm gonna have to have somebody come and take the shell and everything. and all the parts. So that'll be fun. Then what I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna leave this sitting here for now, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get everything off the car till I can free myself of that, and then I'm going to make a new transmission crate mount and an engine. This one I made a long time ago for the LS that came out of the Trans Am, so it's a little narrow for this engine. This engine is, even block wise, is much wider than I expected it to be. So I'm going to, maybe I'll make another one, or I'm just gonna buy an engine stand and put this on for now, because it's just a little bit safer. But I'd like to get the transmission disconnected, look at the clutch. Probably gonna get all new clutch and everything, but I still want to look at it just to see, and then make a crate stand for the transmission, and put the engine on a stand, and we can chill over there with the LS1 for now. Then I think I was contemplating whether I was going to clean everything and then as I go, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till I need it, then I'm going to clean it so it's fresh and clean, and then I'll do it. And then, yeah, once I'm done with the donor, it's time to start digging into that. Start putting. I'm gonna have to put the body on a. They tell you how to make a buck, so I'm gonna have to do that. But yeah, so that was it for today. So this would be day 4 of donor disassembly. 4.5 if you count the half day I did on it the other day. But it looks like a good 5-day. My goal, what I would like, is that the donor takes, for the suspension, takes a day. Then I'd be pretty happy if that was a day, because I got to take front. I don't need the strut. I need the spindle. I need the brake. I need the lower A-arm off the front. Rear, I need the whole rear suspension, essentially. And then I need the fuel tank. And then no more donor. So, yeah, we're getting there. All right. So, after 5 days, we're done with the donor car disassembly. As you can see, engine and trans here. Here's some of the original exhaust stuff that don't need. H-pipe don't need. Front springs don't need. These rear springs you do need. If you optioned for the standard 4-link, which we did. Fuel tank you need. Whole rear assembly needed. Lower control arms from the front needed. Here's the spindles. Brake calipers. This is the steering rack, which they should be sending me a new one. Trying to think. You're probably going to ask, do you need a front spring compressor to take off the front springs? Which I noticed was a big question on the internet. I used one. I used this one, which you can get at, like I got it at O'Reilly, rented it. I'll take it back. I used it to compress it a little bit and then hold the energy so that I could take, you know, that I could pry it out and not have it dissipate so much energy. The rear springs, no. All I did on the rear is I loosened the tops of the shocks, both sides, the quad shocks, and then top control arms. And then it allowed me to lower it down enough to pop the spring out. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So 5 days, 5-day teardown. This is what it looks like. They tell you to take off the steering rack early on in the teardown. I left it. Glad I did, because I could still move the car around. I had to move it from inside my shop to out here. So I would recommend leaving this. If you got to move the car, leave the steering rack on. If you don't have to move the car, yeah, take it off. You can also look at possible ways to drop the K-member out instead of, and then drop the engine and transmission out through the bottom instead of taking it out through the top. If you do take it out through the top, make sure to take the hood off, or you're gonna get that. But I did not care about the condition of the car as I was tearing it down, so that kind of made it a little easier for me anyway. Here's suspension, here's the rear. Fuel tank. Fuel tank comes out pretty easy. I used this motorcycle jack, which has a nice flat surface to go to the bottom of the fuel tank. But you can, and then but I also use it to do the rear end, so that's a pretty handy thing. So that's it for doing a car disassembly, and next will be I think in here. I gotta take the fuel filter off. Doing a car preparation is next after that. So yeah. So yeah, just gotta get the, I forgot to take those off. But yeah, that's it. So next video will be donor car part preparation.